not to those people who say, "Oh, I'm God-fearing Christian," and they do some weird stuff. They do things under the table, and outwardly they're one thing, but inwardly they're nothing. But when you're positive, you're always the same. Inward, outward. You can record being secret or not secret. I mean, there's private things you got to do private. But a real positive person would be like, "Hey, take my picture." They're not worried about them taking their picture like some of these people. "Oh, you got to have my permission when I'm out in public." You're out in public. You already know you're up to good, up to bad by they're up to no good by the very actions they're taking. And so, some people would even act like they would need you to believe that they're going to have an easy time with them, and eventually you'll see that it was an easy time with them. And so you'll see that they were only in it for themselves. They were in it to benefit themselves. They wasn't out there to help you. So they will confuse the future with them. So you wanted to do business with them, but you found out that the business wasn't doing business with them. The business was that they was going to rip you off. Now, then that's when you get into torture. Torture can be pretty rough, let me tell you. It could be done either directly or indirectly when you do torture. And many of these negative people they just want to cause you pain, either way, physically, mentally, any which way they can. And they might go into like a conspiratorial form, like you can see with Christ. They got everybody else involved into attacking man who ain't done nothing to nobody. You know what I'm saying? Other than just say the truth. And if they claim that he was just a wild man, then you got to ignore a wild man. You know what I'm saying? If he's just that wild, but he's not hurting nobody. That's the problem. Who did he hurt? He hurt the feelings of the negative people that want to continue a negative structure. And we'll go deeper into that because that's a whole. I'm going to go rooter on this in a couple more sections. But once you finish all the 12, you'll know all of it. And then after that, it's just a better world. It's a whole structure. It's a science from soup to nuts. But you got to get most of this in there. You got to get most of the lower levels, and then you go to the higher levels. And then when the higher levels, you'll understand that. So they in this torture they would use again mental, physical, and so you could do it not directly because some people just ostracize you. And they get you to feel this state of loneliness and depression. And most people, they do terrible things because they haven't figured it out yet. So they will continue on that negative path, again, of this torture. Some may also go with physical torture. And that could be like waterboarding, or it could be rape, or some sort of serious pain, or even giving you, dosing you, some people will dose you with drugs or slip you a Mickey, or make it a long-term pain. But it depends if they're trying to get you to kowtow to their evil or their negative, or they're trying to get you to get information from you. Whether they're trying to get you to confess to something, or etc., or make you confess to something that you didn't do, like the Inquisition, or do something that you don't want to do. That's the rest. So, automatically that should be taken off the table. But in any case, that's a science, because if they do too much, you're just going to pass out or die or faint. So they got to make sure that they push, but they don't push too much. Even when you start to push people psychologically, or from whatever means, of the 360 degrees of negative, from whatever means they start to use these negatives on you. If they keep doing negatives, what happens is that you become used to it. So you're gonna become used to. You're gonna know the next guy coming to you is gonna spit on you or he's gonna hit you with something. Then the next guy's gonna curse you out. It was a lot like Job when he fell in the hole and everybody was just cursing him out. And then you get used to it. So. And even torture, pain has a threshold, and at that threshold, you're either going to pass out or you're going to die. And psychological, unless you know also how to embrace it, how to work with the energy. So it's a balancing act. But if they go too far, then they kill you, and they didn't achieve their objective unless their objective was to kill you. Which then again, as long as you did good, again, what's the last? If you did the last good, then you got nothing to basically, if you know the human instruction, you'd be able to work it out if you want to achieve to work it out. So if they don't want to do that, most people don't. Some people will, but depending on what's the objective. And the point being is you will know who you're dealing with and what's the difference between how to structure yourself in such a case, meaning that you're there just to what they call that to experience it for a reason. And if that reason is to actually understand it, then you will, some people will have a serious or a really good, because I've known people that have went through that, and they made it out all right, and they were great witnesses, by telling other people. In other words, when things happen bad, you can use that for the good. A woman that was abused with a husband finds a little girl that's abused by her husband, she'll be able to communicate in such a way that person knows. So if a person was tortured and somebody else was tortured and they're trying to figure out how to get out of that mental state, somebody else be able to use that and empathize with him in such a way that he'd be like, no way, that happened to you? Is this what you did? And then find their way out. But some people find their way out just because you are who you are. You are following the human instruction. So even in the midst of all this, because let me tell you, sometimes you are put somewhere. They may even say, okay, they tortured you and now you're sick and all beat up, and then some of them will try to play it off. Oh, well, listen, you want to go to the infirmary? You'd be like, yeah, I'll go to the infirmary, man. You gotta, you're all beat to hell, and who knows how many kind of wounds you got. So you go to the infirmary, and then you find out it's a dungeon with mice and rats, and it's dark, and everybody in the room is just. Oh, that's all you hear is pain. Who knows how many people are dying there? And here you are, and you're in pain, but even in that depths of hell, God is with you. Because you know you haven't done anything for this. You know it. Within your mind, your body, and soul. And they try to take it out on your ass to say, oh shit, you know what, we don't care, we're just gonna make you feel evil like us. We're gonna make you get angry at us, but you ain't did that. Or you haven't done that. And here you are in the midst of all this suffering, and a little spark of light fills your heart. And you're like, wow, even in the deepest of hell, what these people try to put you through, you can still feel the love of God and still feel hope in the midst of all these evil people who are ignorant. And that's why Christ was like, forgive them, because these people are just fools. They don't know what they're doing. And I'm here the human instruction is here to tell you what nobody... many people have lost themselves for searching for, but have been known by some, but has been kept in such a place where it's not revealed. In other words, they try to keep the light of God concealed from you. But the human instruction is here to reveal all that's been robbed from you, because it should have. It was in line to be given a while back, but instead it was hidden, and it's in codes in different languages and different books. And this is the one book that doesn't do that. It will be all explained as you continue through the lessons. So anyway, so now they can classify you as a troublemaker or whatever. The process of harassing and harassing you, has begun, and they're doing it. Because it may happen. Again, this whole thing is formulated on a 4 negative structure. But if it changes, then you will flip it to the 4 positive structure. Again, there's always a void. They use the void to defeat you. But I explained the void, so no matter where they're flip-flopping, you'll be like, oh, I got you on that angle. They flip-flop again, and you say, oh, I got you there. So there'll be no escaping the flip-flop. They can't hide anymore. So many of their tactics is changing procedures. A construct is made. Disciplinary measures, again, negative reinforcement. Different many people grouping together or becoming lying and deceptive witnesses. Constant surprise, interrogating meetings. Nothing more. Nothing to investigate, but more or less to reiterate that the haranguing and humiliate you because they don't know how to escape from their own wickedness, for the lack of the control and their understanding of and perception. So how they move with this corruption, and it goes all the way up to many channels, and in one way or another is done through lust and greed to covet. And so many people are led to play through ignorance, and one through the majority of ignorance. And again, all of this will be revealed as we go along, so there'll be no more questions. All your questions will be answered through the human instruction. They may even try to worry you, again, 24/7, irritate, exasperate, and confuse you over time and space, to elude you into being this mentally ill or criminal deviant, to make it look like what it wasn't or who you aren't, but what they had created. This is what we are currently dealing with, and what is currently happening, and which is easily exposed. But you are told that this is a conspiracy, not because it's not a conspiracy, because they said it was a conspiracy. All it's an attempt to not follow the logic, but to disagree regardless of the proof. And they lie on top of lie on top of lie, so you can see the deliberate. When you start fact checking, you'll say, well, that's wrong, because when you're gullible or naivete, they will tell you this, they will tell you that, they will tell you this, and if you don't know how things work, you'll say, oh man, I must be going, something's wrong. And at one point, this was happening, and then when I started fact checking, I started recording conversations. At first, they thought they could get away with it, and then we used to go to meetings, and they would be, what are you guys doing to this guy? Because I had all the evidence was saying, oh, well, you're screwing him over here, you're screwing him over there, and then all of a sudden, nobody wanted to be recorded anymore. In other words, they got used to lying so much, they thought that they could actually outwit the truth. And then they came to find out, no matter how intelligent they were never able to do that. And so now they made it a crime. So every time they see me, they were real careful. It was like they would just try to, I don't know, they'll constantly be like, well, you don't, do you have any recordings on you? Are you recording this conversation? It was always that kind of conversation. Instead of be like, well, let's get our objectives done. What's the job duty here? What do we got to do? I want you to do this, this. Fine, no problem. Because then it would show them looking like a good guy on the recording. But they were so negative that they knew they were going to continue this negative pace and hateful, and so they would rather make sure that I wasn't recording the truth so they can just try to argue hearsay and try to argue through the right is in the majority. So because they have more people saying, oh, well, he's lying, they'll be like, we're more likely to believe these 20 people that say you're lying when actually that one person is telling the truth and the 20 people were lying. They would rather say that. But plus the corrupt judge, because one time that failed because the judge seen right through that. He was like, man, he didn't even want to hear it. He was like, yo, man, I'm sorry, I apologize. The judge was on point. He seen through the lies. There's a certain energy. And because the judge was a righteous judge, he seen right through the crap, the lies, the confusion, And sometimes people can confuse the truth by actually claiming lies too, and saying that they're truthful, so you think that they're lying. In other words, they'll reverse it. That's how clever these negative people are, but they're always complaining that they're ignorant, that they don't remember, they forgot. They always claim ignorance. But when it comes to attacking them, they become a super genius. And anything to defend them, you got a serious battle. But when it comes to you, they don't want no battle. They just want to straight up attack you or whatever. But they're super smart, or say they're dumb attacking you, and they're really intelligent attacking you. But they'll do it in a sort of try to sly manner, not to give up all the entirety of how clever they really are. So they could act like if they're covering up for somebody else, they can act like they're guilty by lying. So you'd be like, this is the guy who did the crime. But the guy who did the crime is long gone because he seemed like he was truthful and a lot of his stories was right. But the person who was straight up lying will seem more guilty, but he's covering up the crime for the other guy. So later on, you're going to find out that this guy who was lying, who had his stories all mixed up, that he was actually innocent. But he did that to cover up the tracks of somebody else. Up to that point, these people work together. And don't think otherwise. So if you're thinking, some people, they could play like they could use people as bait. So you think, this person is nothing, but you're going to find out that person is not like what you had thought. So you need to know. In other words, once you know the human instruction, you'll know the way time serpentines, works through the these energies work through time, and to give you a final deductive reasoning or illogical understanding in which you join this negative form of destruction. So you learn and remember how things work and who is who. Because some people, they automatically destroy themselves. I call them bought people because they just continue on this negative path, which is easily observed quickly. And the people who, again, switch their colors over time will try to be a little more confusing. But regardless, as soon as their head pops up like that, as soon as they go from the two-face, from the nice face to the evil face, you'll know exactly what's going on at the very second it happens. So they're not catching you off guard. You was like, oh, I seen that. Or you see that coming, or you see it happening. As opposed to then being argumentative and then they take you. Because some women actually too, and some men, they create a family household until you have kids. And then when you have kids, they switch on you. And then some of them will try to have more kids on you just to try to gain more control of your finances, which is also concentrating of you. So that's why it's always advisable to be on a probationary period between you and another person to see exactly if you get along. Because if you do not have any kids with them, but it's because it's only going to make it even worse. Multiply that 10 times with every kid, and they're going to use that against you in every possible way, and their friends. and sometimes they'll use their friends to say something as well and lie and deceive when all of them were in cahoots. And yes, it does happen, and yes, it will happen until we finally awaken and we can create a pattern in which people are held responsible for the negative things they do, as opposed for them to be in cahoots and for you to be naivete and not know what's going on and to identify